Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Fast Fact Friday. Today we're talking about something that affects communities across the country but doesn't usually get much attention: chemical trespass. So what is it? Chemical trespass occurs when people and the natural environment are harmed by chemical agents that are forced into their communities, literally into their bodies and their environment. It can happen in many ways, but in recent years, the biggest trespasses have been the industrial practice of fracking and aerial spraying of pesticidal agents that contaminate air, food, and soil, thus contaminating us and the surrounding ecosystem. People, communities, and nature have a right to be healthy and thrive, to be free of chemical trespass. When industrial high-volume oil and gas fracking projects contaminate pure drinking water, or aerial pesticide spraying toxifies air and soil, it is people and ecosystems who suffer the health consequences from ingesting those toxins, often without their consent. Residents suffer the financial consequences in the cost of shipping water and paying for medical treatment. So we've got to ask ourselves, how'd we get here? In 1958, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act formally articulated the risks relative to chemical exposure, but the law was reversed when claims that the hazardous materials themselves were not the issue, but rather exposure to the hazards was the issue. This effectively took culpability away from the cause of the hazard and made it the responsibility of citizens to minimize contact with dangerous chemicals that corporations produce. But don't we have a system in place to test things that could hurt us? The requirements of the FDA and EPA testing, especially their lack of preventative measures, is alarming to say the least. According to FDA.gov, neither the law nor FDA regulations require specific tests to demonstrate the safety of individual products or ingredients. When you're talking about cosmetic products, you don't even need FDA pre-approval before going on the market. So make sure that next time the egg on your face is actually an egg. Prior to 2016, in order to require testing of a new chemical, the EPA must first show the potential risk. No evidence of harm is interpreted as no harm from their perspective. The problem with this way of thinking is that many of the harmful effects of chemical trespass are worsened through prolonged exposure and are often not immediately seen in testing. So, they kinda did something about it. Kind of. In 2016, they passed a bill to require testing, but according to PBS, at the pace established in the bill, it could take centuries for the EPA to actually accomplish their tasks and decades to get through the 1,000 most dangerous chemicals the EPA itself said needed urgent reviews. It's a system designed to let corporations take advantage of loopholes, skipping any precautionary measures, while they put toxins in our environment with no repercussions for them, but serious repercussions for people, communities, and nature. Fun fact, or terrifying reality, it is 2020 after all. The European Chemicals Agency estimates there are more than 144,000 man-made chemicals in existence. The U.S. Department of Health estimates 2,000 new chemicals are being released every single year. The Center for Disease Control regularly surveys the population for the presence of 275 specific chemicals, although scientists estimate between 300 and 700 corporate-produced chemicals can be found in the body of every person. Didn't have that on your bingo card, did ya? Chemical trespass, as with many such violations, is a harm whose true impact can only be fully understood with time. Often, the environmental and human costs associated with these chemicals come to light well after they're ruled hazardous. Usually the victims of chemical trespass are working class citizens who are vulnerable to nearby chemical treatments, or families using everyday items rendered toxic by unmonitored chemicals. These hazardous chemicals can lead to negative effects in the central nervous system or cause asthma and breast cancer. Even more disturbing is how long corporations have been allowed to use these measurable and hazardous materials near our homes. As far back as 1993, it was estimated that at least 5% of babies born in America had been exposed to chemical quantities sufficient to cause neurological damage. The victims are not only those being exposed to these chemicals directly, but those who, unknowingly, are in danger from a very young age. The purpose of rights-based campaigns focusing on chemical trespass is to recognize and assert that it is a fundamental right of every person residing within a community to be free from invasions of their bodies by corporate chemicals. Government is the people's means of protecting rights and enforcing laws, and it is the municipality's responsibility to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents. And it is the people's right to do so if the municipality does not. For more information on chemical trespass, head over to sildef.org. A special thanks to the wonderful, magnificent, and phenomenal Tish Odell for helping me put this together. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, don't take legal advice from a YouTube video.